heaven and hell. The rich and the poor in heaven. 1. 357. There are various opinions about reception into heaven. Some are of the opinion that the poor are received and the rich are not, some that the rich and the poor are equally received, some that the rich can be received only by giving up their wealth and becoming like the poor, and everyone confirms his opinion from the Word. But those who make a distinction in regard to heaven between the rich and the poor do not understand the Word. In its interiors the Word is spiritual, but in the letter it is natural. Consequently, those who apprehend the Word only in accordance with its literal sense, and not according to any spiritual sense, err in many respects, especially about the rich and the poor. For example, that it is as difficult for the rich to enter into heaven as for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle, and that it is easy for the poor because they are poor, since it is said, "Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of the heavens." Luke 6:20. But those who know anything of the spiritual sense of the Word think otherwise. They know that heaven is for all who live a life of faith and love, whether rich or poor. But who are meant in the Word by the rich and who by the poor will be told in what follows. From much conversation and living with angels it has been granted me to know with certainty that the rich enter heaven just as easily as the poor, and that a man is not shut out of heaven on account of his wealth, nor received into heaven on account of his poverty. Both the rich and the poor are in heaven, and many of the rich in greater glory and happiness than the poor. 358. It should be said to begin with that a man may acquire riches and accumulate wealth as far as opportunity is given, if it is not done by craft or fraud, that he may enjoy the delicacies of food and drink if he does not place his life therein, that he may have a palatial dwelling in accord with his condition, have intercourse with others in like condition, frequent places of amusement, talk about the affairs of the world, and need not go about like a devotee with a sad and sorrowful countenance and drooping head, but may be joyful and cheerful. Nor need he give his goods to the poor except so far as affection leads him. In a word, he may live outwardly precisely as a man of the world, and all this will be no obstacle to his entering heaven, provided that inwardly in himself he thinks about God as he ought, and acts sincerely and justly in respect of his neighbor. For a man is such as his affection and thought are, or such as his love and faith are, and from these all his outward acts derive their life, since acting is willing, and speaking is thinking, for he acts from the will, and speaks from the thought. So where it is said in the Word that man will be judged according to his deeds, and will be rewarded according to his works, it is meant that he will be judged and rewarded in accordance with his thought and affection, which are the source of his deeds, or which are in his deeds, for deeds are nothing apart from these, and are precisely such as these are. Number sign. It is evident from this that man's external accomplishes nothing, but only his internal, which is the source of the external. For example, if a man acts honestly and does not defraud another solely because he fears the laws and the loss of reputation and thereby of honor or gain, and if the fear did not restrain him would defraud another whenever he could, although such a man's deeds outwardly appear honest, his thought and will are fraud, and because he is inwardly dishonest and fraudulent he is held in himself. But he who acts honestly and does not defraud another because it is against God and against the neighbor, would have no wish to defraud another if he could. His thought and will are conscience, and he has heaven in himself. The deeds of these two appear alike in outward form, but inwardly they are entirely unlike. It is frequently said in the Word that man will be judged and will be rewarded according to his deeds and works. By deeds and works in their internal form are meant, not in their external form, since good works in external form are likewise done by the wicked, but in internal and external form together only by the good. Works, like all activities, have their being and manifestation esse et existere and their quality from the interiors of man, which pertain to his thought and will, since they proceed from these. Therefore such as the interiors are such are the works. That is, such as the interiors are in regard to love and faith. Thus works contain love and faith, and art love and faith in effect. Therefore to be judged and rewarded in accordance with deeds and works, means in accordance with love and faith. So far as works look to self and the world they are not good, but they are good so far as they look to the Lord and the neighbor. 359. Since a man can live outwardly as others do, can grow rich, keep a plentiful table, dwell in an elegant house and wear fine clothing according to his condition and function, can enjoy delights and gratifications, and engage in worldly affairs for the sake of his occupation and business and for the life both of the mind and body, provided he inwardly acknowledges the divine and wishes well to the neighbor. It is evident that to enter upon the way to heaven is not so difficult as many believe. The sole difficulty lies in being able to resist the love of self and the world, and to prevent their becoming dominant, for this is the source of all evils. That this is not so difficult as is believed is meant by these words of the Lord. Learn of me, for I am meek and lowly of heart, and ye shall find rest to your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matt 11:29-30. The Lord's yoke is easy and his burden light because a man is led by the Lord and not by self-just to the extent that he resists the evils that flow forth from love of self and of the world, and because the Lord then resists these evils with the man and removes them. All evils are from the love of self and of the world. These are contempt of others, enmities, hatred, revenge, cruelty, deceit. Into such loves man is born, thus in them are his inherited evils. Next, I will read the rich and the poor in heaven. 2. If you have information about heaven, please click on subscribe and like. Thank you.